talking about the love of Christ. And we started the conversation last week with a simple thought. And that simple thought was, don't change the plan, continue the plan. Don't change the plan, continue the plan. You say, well, Ken, I don't even know what the plan is. Well, Jesus said the plan was, if you remain in me and I remain in you, then my love will be in you. What he said was just love people. Just love God and love people. And again, we're highly concerned about, man, things have got to change, Pastor. Pastor, did you watch the news? Pastor, did you see the feed on your Facebook? Have you been on the internet? Pastor, something has got to change. It's not the plan that has to change. The plan is that if we would love God and love people, we will see the power of God. I was on my way back from New Orleans, and I was on the plane, and I was thinking about today, and I was thinking about all the incredible expressions of love that I was able to be a part of and see as three little ladies, just three little ladies prepared over 900 hot meals and gave them out on Friday. I was able to walk through a food pantry like the one that we're hoping to establish here in the next 3 months, and talk to people that were just coming in, and they were so grateful for this moment. I got to pray with a man and that was leaving. I got to see just so many numerous expressions of love that. And I'm thinking about that on the plane, and I'm thinking about this idea of revolution. And I thought, God, is there another way that I can state this? Is there another way that I can make this applicable? And this is what he gave me. Go back to that first slide for me. To re-love you. See, when I first got this idea of this series of revolution, and I tripped over it, honestly. I misspelled the word revolution. And I'm looking at it and going, oh, that's not right. But it brought me to this idea of the word love there in the middle of this idea. And we've been talking about how revolution is not necessarily about change. It's about continuance. And so I thought this came to me. The suffix tion means the action or condition. And so we're in this series of revolution, and what is it about? Here's what I want you to grab. No matter where you are, no matter who you come in contact with, whether it be in your work, whether it be in your home, whether it would be in a relationship, in your neighborhood, on your job, on your campus, the idea of being revolutionary that I'm wanting to get across to us as a church that's going to make a difference in who we are, that's going to make a difference in this community is whoever you come in contact with, it is putting into action, putting into place the action or condition of loving that person, loving you again and again and again and again and again and again. That's a revolution. If it's the person in the cubicle next to you, if it's the person sitting across the breakfast table from you, if it's the person across the street from you, it's the person with the locker next to yours. Revolution is taking on the action, being in the condition of saying, I am going to love that person again and again and again and again. To re-love you. Why? Because we're not here to change the plan. We're here to continue the course. To remain consistent in the plan of loving God and loving people with every fiber, every feeling, and every ounce of faith that we have. Church, I'm telling you, we've got to get to that place. I believe that in the last days, and we talked about it last week, in the last days, we have two options. Our love can grow cold, or our love can become real. And I believe with all of my heart that we need to lock in, that we need to grab hold and embrace the idea of love again in the church. Love again for a lost and a dying world. What if being a part of a revolution isn't about a change, but it's about a completion of a course? What if a revolution isn't about fixing things the way I want them to be? What if a revolution isn't about changing laws or changing leaders or changing the landscape of the issues? What if being a part of a revolution is about changing me into who God wants me to be? He said, remain in me, remain in my love. Don't focus on what has to change, but continue in me. Continue in my love and let that love change you, because ultimately, if love will change us, if love will change you as an individual, then love will change this church. And if love will change this church, then love will change the community. I believe that. I hope you believe that. I hope that you will embrace that to the point of saying, that is the greatest desire of my life, is that the love of Jesus Christ is not just something that I experience, but it's something that changes me. It's something that captivates me. It is something, the word says, for the love of Christ compels us. That was the pattern that Jesus set. God incarnate. God dealing with you in the same humanity that you and I exist in. You say, Ken, you don't understand how hard it is to love that person. You don't understand how hard it is for me to love it all because of what I've experienced. Jesus Christ, God incarnate, in the same confines of flesh that you and I exist in, he did it. He did it. He set the pattern in motion. Jesus loved people who were unlovely. Hear me, there is no one who is unlovable. There is no one who is unlovable. There are people that by actions are unlovely, but there is no one who is unlovable. And Jesus loved the unlovely. He loved people who were marginalized and broken. Jesus loved people who mistreated him. Jesus loved people who didn't even know he was loving them. And if we are deeply honest, we have a hard time putting that pattern into 21st century Christianity and life. So many times we can't imagine the experience. We can't imagine, we can't put ourselves in that moment. We can't figure out how to make it work. So because we can't imagine the experience, we initiate the excuses. We come up with the reasons why not. Well, I can't love that person because, or I can't really extend myself that far because, or I'm just not comfortable in that situation. Because we can't imagine the experience, we initiate the excuses. I walked into a situation this weekend not knowing what I was going to find, not knowing what I was going to see. And I'll tell you, I'll be really honest with you, my ministry has never, ever truly embraced and experienced ministry to the marginalized. Not on that level. Not on that level. But when I walked into that warehouse on Friday afternoon, when I walked into what, and it was totally different than what I thought it was going to have to look like. I had it all neat. I had it all tidy. I had it all in boxes and on shelves. And I walked in there and I thought, this is a nightmare. This is crazy. This is unorganized. And I watched people come in and they were so ready to receive. A man that so skinny, and as he's walking out, barely able to hold up this box of food that he has, we were standing in the doorway, myself and Brooke and Troy and Tracy Duhan, who head up Giving Hope. And Tracy looked at me and we were talking about what we want to launch here in Kansas City. And she looked at me and she said, it's time to pray. This woman was powerful, man. She looked at me and she said, it is time to pray. And this gentleman was walking by and he said, okay, let's pray. And we began to pray for what God was doing here. And this man who was there, who had nothing, who had come to get whatever he could get, he was in agreement that God was going to do something here in Kansas City. It may not, what God calls you to do, what God puts in front of you, you may not truly be able to wrap your mind around right now. You may not truly be able to see what that experience is supposed to look like. But don't let that cause you to initiate the excuse. Have you ever seen those entertainers that can, they spin plates? You know, they get all these plates spinning around at the same time, and they keep it going over an extended period of time. They've got these rods, and they're spinning plates, and they're moving over here, and they're spinning another plate, and back and forth. The world record for simultaneous plate spinning is held by the great DeVito. His name is David Spathansky. Great DeVito. He kept 108 plates spinning at the same time. 108. Multiple motions, balances, all operating in sync. Sometimes that's how love feels. That we've got to keep 108 different things going at the same time. And we're running here and we're running there. And it seems to be exhausting. How do I balance all of the opportunities to love my family and to love my neighbors and to love my church and to love my community and to love the grumpy old man next to me? And don't look around. And to how do I balance all of that? How do I keep love fluid? How do I keep doing what Jesus asked me to do at the level that he expects? Well, remember, one of the great definitions that we used last week that gives us insight into how we do that is this. A revolution is the movement of one object around a central point or another object. A revolution is one object moving around another object. One object moving around, being centrally focused on another object. That's a revolution. That is a revolution. When I read that definition, though, I immediately thought of the wonder and the mystery of our solar system. Large planetary objects moving, orbiting, spinning around the sun or a central point. And I'm sure that we've all seen or even had to build those science project dioramas, you know, with all of the brightly colored styrofoam balls hanging from the threads, you know, remember those? Remember building those? Some of you who have kids right now in elementary school, you're probably still building those. And as good as some of those may be, as hard as someone had to work to put it all together, that is a static expression of the true ability of our solar system. And you say, Ken, what does a science project have to do with the way I love? What does spinning plates have to do with the way I love? What does the solar system have to do with the way I love? It comes back to that revolution idea. See, for many of us, our love is very directional. It's very directional. We love who we love for reasons that are lovely or lovable. We love who we love because there are reasons that are lovely or lovable, and so our love is directional. But in a sense, that's very static as well. It's the science project way of loving. I love you because I'm in relationship with you, or I love you because we're in church together and God told me to. I love you because I'm attracted to you. I love you. See, we love who we love because there's a lovable reason to do that. It's like taking brightly colored styrofoam balls and hanging them from a string and going, look, I have a solar system. And that's how we build our system of love sometimes. We can diagram it. We can explain it. We like love that we can explain, that we have a reason for, that makes sense to us, right? There are markers that give me ways to manage all of the love that is necessary in my life. But what happens when that model gets broken? What happens when that model gets damaged? The only human options are to discard it. How many of you still have one of your kids' solar system dioramas in a box on a shelf? Anybody? My mom does. I'm telling you right now, I could probably go to it right now. My mom does. But we do that. We're like, oh, I've got to keep this. It's important, so I'm just going to shelve it. And sometimes that's what we do with how we love people. When the system gets broken, we just shelve it. We put it away. Or we destroy it. We get done with it. We just trash it. Or we have a DIY solution to try and fix it. I can make this work. I can make this relationship work. I can mend this. I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to go take a class, and I'm going to make. So that's what happens when the model normally gets broken in love. For others, love is very dysfunctional. Our love is based on how many plates can I keep spinning? How many plates can I keep moving? How my love is dispensed is directly proportioned to the amount of physical, spiritual, or emotional energy that I can produce. And so if I'm not feeling it, I'm not doing it. The plates that I'm closest to, the plates that are more fragile, the plates that I can't afford to break, those get the most attention in my life. The relationships that I'm closest to, the relationships that I can't afford to let go of, the relationships that I can't afford to break, those get the most attention in my life. But what happens is then the rest of the love that we are to give to the world suffers. And that's a very dysfunctional way of love. Because in order to survive, we lessen the amount of plates. And that, my friend, is where the church is today. We have lessened the amount of plates. We have looked at the opportunities to love this world, and we've given them over. We've said someone else will pick up that plate. Someone else will keep it. Let the Salvation Army pick up that plate. Let that organization pick up that plate. Let welfare pick up that plate. You say, ooh, now you're getting touchy. We've given up because we don't feel like we have the energy to do it. My life, with its own spin and rotation revolving around the centrality of God, is where I find the only love and expression of love that keeps it all connected, keeps it all balanced, that keeps it all operational. We have got to come back to where is the orbital pattern? Where is the gravitational pull of love in my life? See, we will not love without that gravitational pull. And the only way that we get that gravitational pull of love is if our life is focused and centered around God Himself. Just like the planets in orbit around the sun, when our lives are centrally focused and making complete revolutions around God, the source of all things, then we are able to love, to give, to live, and to actually get worn out by loving. You say, can you say that last thing again? Yes. We need to be able to get worn out by loving. Come on, church, we give our energies to so much. We give our energies to so many things. But we have got to get back to giving our energy to loving the world. Why? Because God has a way of holding it all together. Little quick science lesson. Scientists have discovered that when planets are in orbit, they are not all made the same. Not all of the planets that we have are identical. They're not made the same. they're also not moving in sync and succession. They're not moving in the exact same direction and plane. They are not all spinning at the same speed, but they are spinning in the same direction. So here you have all of these things that are spinning around this one thing, and they're all different. They're all made different. They all have different characteristics. They all have different aspects to them. They're different size, different shape, different chemical makeup, and they're not all moving in sync. It's not like they're all lined up going around like this. They're all moving they're in different places in the time and space continuum, and things are going around and around, and they're not all moving at the same speed. Some of them are pretty fast. Some of them are moving really slow. But here's the one thing, they're all moving in the same direction. And it's interesting to me what that direction is. It's counterclockwise. It's counterclockwise. See, here's what I'm trying to get across to you. We are all different. We're all different people. We're made up differently. We're not all moving in the same direction. We're not all doing the same thing every day. We're moving at different speeds. We're at different locations and places in our walk with Christ. But we have all got to have two things that are the same. We have got to be centered around God Himself, and we have got to be rotating counterclockwise to culture. It's amazing that here are these big masses of planets, sizes and shapes and structures moving at different speeds, different directions. And they haven't bumped into each other. They haven't complained about each other. Hey, Saturn, get your rings out of my way. They haven't lost control and they're not complaining about each other. They haven't tried to hurt each other. And one of them hasn't said, well, I quit. I don't want to be a part of this system. I'm going to go over here and be a part of this system. Why? Because God is holding it all together. Here's the thing about our solar system. In our solar system, that sun, that big red fiery ball in the middle, is not just so that we get a great tan in the summer. It is actually producing what is called a gravitational pull. And it makes sure that everything stays in that orbit and everything stays connected. The gravitational pull of God is love. And if we stay in that gravitational pull, if we would quit focusing on what that planet is doing and what that planet is doing, and well, that planet's bigger than me. How come they get to be closer? How come I got to be all the way out here? Well, I quit. If we would stay in the gravitational pull of God's love, guess what? This thing would spin like a top. In life, we have different people, numerous differences, moving at different speeds with different opinions. But unfortunately, we are not spinning in the same direction. The counter-directional spin in the system of humanity is love. The flesh says, spin my way, go with the flow, to have the same limited, self-based view of life. But the opposite spin says, love God, love people, serve God, serve people. So if if love is a gravitational pull, how do I stay in it? 1 John chapter 4, verse 7. 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 says, dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Let us love one another. Why? Because there's a central way of doing it. Love comes from God. The point of all love is right there. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God. Because God is love. This is how God showed His love among us. He sent His one and only Son into the world that we might live through Him. This is love. Here it is. Here's the definition. You don't have to go to Webster's. You don't have to go to Google. You don't have to go to Wikipedia. Here it is. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that He loved us. You say, well, Ken, that's not a really good descriptive definition. You know what? I think it's the most descriptive definition that there is. It's not what I can do. It's not what I can generate. It has nothing to do with me. It's the fact that God is love and he showed up. Let me drop down. And so we know and rely on the love that God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in him. In this way, what way? The what I just described to you. Love is made complete among us so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment, because in this world we are like him. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. We love because he first loved us. So Ken, I just don't know if I can do this. Did you hear that last line? Ken, I don't know if I can love certain people. I don't know if I can express love into certain circumstances. You love because he first loved you. It has nothing to do with anybody else, any condition that anybody is in life. In this passage, there are 4 gravitational pulls. I'm going to move through them really quick. Here we go. 4 divine influences that keep us in the revolution of God's love. The pull of the largest source. He says love comes from God. Love comes from God. In space, in our solar system, the smaller objects rotate around the larger objects. That's called Newton's law of universal gravitation. The bigger the object, the more pull it has. And the sun is the biggest of the object, therefore it has more pull. The reason for that is because the larger body has more strength and can produce more energy. There used to be this old song, the line in it was, searching for love in all the wrong places. That's exactly the reason we find ourselves in many of the struggles that we are in today. Not that we are searching to receive love from the wrong places, but we are drawing from the wrong sources in order to have love to give. We draw from the largest source of love there is. You say, well, I'm just going to be a good person and I'm going to love, or I'm going to amass a large amount of finances and I'm going to love, or I'm going to whatever. No, it's not going to work that way. You draw from the largest source that you can. What is the largest source of love there is? God. Why? He is love. He is love. Love doesn't come from my emotional state. Love doesn't come from physical attraction. Love doesn't come from my commitment to a cause or a vow that I made. Love doesn't even come through my own genetics or DNA. True love, the Greek term is agape love, love that is unconditional, unrestricted, unending, and always available, can only come from God. You say, Ken, how am I going to be able to love these people that have hurt me? How am I going to be able to love these people when, Ken, I know, I see guys on the street and it's a scam, Ken. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Does that mean you don't love them? You say, I can't do that, Ken. I can't, I know what's going to happen. Do you really? Do you know the backstory? You said it doesn't matter, it's a scam. Listen, love draws from the ultimate source is pure. So it doesn't matter what the outcome is. It doesn't. There is no outcome to pure love. That's not why we love. We're not loving for the outcome. We're loving because we love. And we draw from a source. We don't draw from our own heritage. We don't draw from our own emotions. We don't draw from our own decisions. We don't draw from our own resource. We draw from the one that we are centered on. Yes, I can love my family and friends. I can love people and things. People were created in relationships, so the capacity to love is in us all because the image of God is there in us as well. But that capacity can diminish. The tank can be damaged. The tank can run dry if we are not refueling from the right source. Husbands and wives, if you're not refueling your love, your relationship is going to diminish. I will mark it down, write it in stone. You can take it to the bank. It will diminish. You say, well, where do I? Your source of love is not that other person. I think it was Tom Cruise. He was wrong. She does not complete you and you do not complete him. Love is God. And we have to refuel that tank in order to love our kids, in order to love our spouses, in order to love our neighbors, in order to love the world. We have got to pull from the larger source. The only way we can love in a revolutionary manner is to experience God in a revolutionary manner. Oh, that was good. That should have hit a mark. The only way we love revolutionary is if we experience God in a revolutionary manner. I'm not talking about a surface relationship. I'm not talking about a relationship that just brings you to church once a week. I'm talking about a relationship with God where your life is centered on Him. He is the epitome of everything that you are and everything that you do. And your life rotates not on your checkbook. It doesn't rotate on your calendar. It doesn't rotate on your iPhone. It doesn't rotate on anything but Him. He is the axis that moves your life. From that point, you will love like you have never loved before. Your relationships will be better. Your parenting will be better. Everything you do will be better. Why? Because you have drawn from the source. Notice it says God is love. It doesn't say that God is loving. Say, wait a minute, God's not loving? Oh, He is. Not because He chooses to be, because He is. God is love. God is not performing an action. See, that's where we get it messed up. That's where we get it mixed up. Because people will think, well, how can a loving God do this? God is not performing an action. God is not loving this person more than that person. God is not loving more in this situation. God is love. And the thing that we've got to understand is His ways are higher than my ways. His thoughts are better than my thoughts. He sees more than I can ever see. And there are times that His love doesn't look like what I think it needs to look like, but it's still love because He's still God. And there are times that His love needs to come in and gently tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, because I love you, we got to change some things. And then there are times that He's got to really get my attention for the same reason. And that is still love. 1 Timothy 1:5. It says the whole point of what we're urging is simply love. Love uncontaminated by self-interest and counterfeit faith. A life open to God. A life open to God. I can't love the person that hurt me. I can't love the person who is unlovely. I can't love if love is not being reciprocated. If you will open your entire life to God and you will get in the pattern, you'll be able to love more than you can ever understand. Second thing is the practice of larger actions. The majority of the time, I work better on something that's unfamiliar to me if I can see an example. Honestly, revolutionary love is pretty unfamiliar to a lot of us. This love that we're talking about, for most of us, it's not going to happen really easily. It's got to happen, but it's not going to happen very easily. So here's the example. This is how God showed His love among us. What is He saying? You need an example? You need some instruction? Here we go. This is love. Not that we love God, but that he loved us and sent his son as an atoning sacrifice. So what does this kind of love look like? John defines that. Not that we love God, but that he loved us and sent his son. Here it is. God initiated a relational, real way for you and I to become better by the actions that he took. God initiated a relational, real way for you and I to become better by the actions that he took. So when we're loving other people, that's the same pattern. That I am initiating. I am initiating. You got that yet? I am the one that is initiating this relationship. I am the one that is going out. Guess what? I'm the one that has the love. And yet so many times we expect people to come find it. This is not a game of hide and seek. God didn't say, here, let me go hide somewhere in the world. This is not Where's Waldo. Let me go hide somewhere and the world come to me. No, Jesus came. God sent his son into the world to love. We initiate the relationship in a real way so that somebody can become better because of the way we love them. That's the pattern that God set before us. God didn't wait to be asked. And that's the point that we miss. We read the part about giving of our lives and sending Jesus to die for the sins of the world, and we check out. Well, God, I can't do that. Well, John clears that up. 1 John 3. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we have to lay down our life for our brothers. And right there, we're like, okay, I'm out. Turn the channel. I'm off. Can't do that. My life's too important. I got things to do. I got people that care about me. Not checking out. Can't lay down my life. Okay, let's define that a minute. Because he does. He then defines it. If anyone has material possessions and sees his brother in need, but has no pity on him, how can the love of God be in him? Dear children, let us not love with words or tongue, but with actions and in truth. See, we get it in our mind, well, now I got to die. No, you just got to do something. You just got to do something. We continue the course of love. We love in a revolutionary manner when we stop talking about love and we start initiating love. We start initiating the love into lives of people. Third thing is the promise of a larger maturity. Love is made complete among us so that we will have confidence. How many of you have ever gotten a note written in crayon that said, "Do you like me?" Check yes or no. Anybody ever got one of those? Anybody ever got? Some of you are still pretty proud of that. Some of you are lying because I know you did. I mean, everybody's gotten one. You're just, not me. I was the one sending those notes. I don't know. Will you be my boyfriend, girlfriend? Check yes or no. How many of you got one of those notes this week? Okay, yeah, good. All right. No, I hope not, because I hope that your ability to love has matured from the crayon stage. Even to the point that we can love when situations and even people are unlovely. When we focus on completing the plan, when we allow the pull of God's love to keep us on course, we become more complete. It matures us. It gives us confidence to love in ways that we might not have ever considered before. It encourages us to love in ways that when we come to the day we stand before Christ, we are confident that we will hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Not because of the amount of the check that we wrote or how many times we served at the church, but simply because we loved. 2 Peter 1:3, his divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through our knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and goodness. Through these, he has given us his promises so that through them, are you watching this? God's given me everything for life and goodness. And through the things that God has given me, he's given me the ability to have his promises so that through them, you may participate, not receive, not receive, that you may participate. Say participate. See, you're not a spectator, you're a participator. Because God has given you everything you need to live the life that God designed for you, and he's made sure that you can do it because he's promised everything was necessary and available. And now what he's looking for is for you to participate in the divine nature. What is that divine nature? Go back one point. Remember what God is? God is, so we're supposed to participate in divine nature. If God is love, that's his divine nature. So now I am participating in love. And that gives me the opportunity to escape the corruption of the world caused by evil desires. Now listen, you're not going to get away from not seeing evil. You're not going to get away from not living in a broken world. But what he's talking about there is escaping the corruption, allowing it to have the effect on your life, allowing it to break you down, allowing it to have such an impact on you that it may cause you not to be who God wants you to be. How does that happen? God has given me everything I need. God has promised me that I can do this. And now he's allowing me to participate in love. And when I do that, I can escape the corruption. I can take what the world wants to put on my life and I can dust it off and experience everything that God has for me. For this very reason. Watch this. How many of you say, man, that's what I'd love to be able to just shake it off. I'd love to be able to go to bed at night and not worry that something bad's gonna happen, but realize that God and his divine nature is still in charge. How many of you say, man, I'd like to do that? Are you guys even awake? Okay, there's about 2 of you. The rest of you must, I don't know, melatonin or NyQuil or something. You're sleeping pretty well. He says, watch this. For that very reason, if that's what you want, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, to self-control perseverance godliness, to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness, which by the way is kind of surface. That brotherly kindness is, hey brother, how you doing? Good to see you, glad you're here. That's not love. That's not love. I hope that as you came in today that you received brotherly kindness. If you didn't, come see me. I will shake your hand, I'll hug your neck, But guess what? You also got to receive love. Village West, hear me. We got to move. We got to move from brotherly kindness to love. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. Can I challenge you? And nobody get mad at me. Somebody always gets mad at me, but hey, here we go. I'm already in it up to my elbows already. We got to move. Because we can do brotherly kindness really well. We've got programs and systems that are aligned to do that. But we're not loving. We're not. Not this kind of love. Not revolutionary kind of love. We're not there yet. We got to get there. We got to add to that. Why? For if you possess these qualities, this love quality, if you possess this quality in increasing measure, in other words, it's continually growing and growing and growing, they will keep you from being ineffective and unproductive in your knowledge. That means relationship with Jesus Christ. If you want a better relationship with Jesus Christ, if you want an effectiveness in your life, if you want to wake up every day and know that God is moving in your life, if you want to wake up every day and see the activity of God happening in your family, happening on your job, changing your kids' life, then we have got to have the increasing measure of love in our lives. Keeping love on course and keeping it in the gravitational pull of God and his love, 2 things are going to happen. We're going to participate in life from a different vantage point, and we're going to look at it from a divine scope. I got to finish up. The power of lesser fear. There is no fear in love. You know what? We all have the tendency to live in the shadow of what if. especially when it comes to love. Well, what if they reject me? What if they take what I give and they use it for something that I don't agree with? What if I don't want to love them? The issue with a what if is that we are projecting an unknown outcome. What if they reject me? All what you're saying is they're going to reject me. You're projecting an unknown outcome in that moment, as if it is known and assuming that it will have a negative effect. Guess what? That's fear. That's fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the reprise, the fear of the uncontrollable outcome. But the pattern of love that God desires, the revolution and rotation of God's love, isn't based on fear. It actually drives fear away. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, timidity. God did not give you fear, but a spirit of power, there it is again. Notice how this keeps coming up. God gave us a spirit of love and of self-discipline. The ability, the motivation, and the discipline to stay on course is provided by God. You say, Ken, I can't love this way. I can't do this thing. I can't. Yes, you can. You have been given the ability, you've been given the Spirit of God in your life, the power to do this, the motivation to do this, the ability to do this. You have it. You have it. Become a participator. The question is, how big is the God that you serve? If God is love, if God has demonstrated love to you, if God uses love to complete and mature you, what in that outcome should you fear? And why should we fear loving others? Come on, team, help me out. Romans 13. Let no debt remain outstanding. Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt of love for others. Wouldn't it be nice to be debt-free? Oh, we work hard at that, don't we? We work hard at that. Man, there are guys out there, they've made a lot of money trying to get everybody to stop spending money. You know that? Oh, man, we want to be debt-free. There's all kinds of things that are popping up all over. There's these debt reduction programs, and there's these cash advance plays. Oh, get debt-free, get debt-free, get debt-free. And here comes the Bible and says, don't be debt-free. Don't be debt-free. Let there be one debt in your life. Let there be one outstanding debt every day of your life that you owe someone. That you owe someone love. You owe them that. It is a debt. Why? Because you have a debt that you can't pay off. You have a debt that you can never repay, and it's the debt of the love of Christ that's been given into your life, and therefore you owe someone. I owe someone, and I don't know who that someone's going to be today. It's always my family. It's always my church, but I know that there's probably going to be somebody else that's going to show up in my life, and God's going to say, you owe them, Ken. You owe them. God, I don't know them. Doesn't matter, you owe them. The commandments say, do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not covet, and whatever other commands there may be are summed up in this one rule. Love your neighbor as yourself. The issues of our world, the divorce rate, adultery, crime, murder, theft, violence. What does it boil down to? Jesus told us what the answer was. It's summed up in the fact that we don't love. So what does that tell me? That if I would begin to love, you say, Ken, I cannot change this world. No, but you can change your world. You can change your small universe. Our universe is one of many solar systems in this vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy. And there's galaxies after galaxies after galaxies. Your little solar system of your world is one small thing. But if it is not revolving around God, if you are not in the gravitational pull of His love, but if you are, you can change that world. Ephesians 5 says, be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us. Philippians 1:10, I love this. This verse has hung with me for about 3 months. Live a lover's life. Live a lover's life. Circumspect and exemplary, a life Jesus will be proud of. Bountiful in fruits from the soul, making Jesus Christ attractive to all. See, if God can create a system of planets that rotate and revolve through space and use the force of gravity to keep it all together, doesn't it make sense that He could put a system of love and place it on the third rock from the sun that can impact your individual universe? Just allow the love that pulled you in and that holds you in orbit to affect others. Will you stand with me? I want you to experience today, in the next few moments, the gravitational pull of the love of God. As you worship Him, would you allow Him to just pull you in? Pull you in. Right now, some of you you're still working on spinning all the plates from this last week. You're still working on trying to get life back in sync. You're still working on trying to make it all happen. Would you just let the gravitational pull of God's love take care of that for you today? Would you just worship Him? Would you just love Him? Just a minute.